Hi, and welcome to the Food Allergy Magic podcast, where our goal is to inspire and help you travel the world with food allergies. Hi, I'm Lizzie Reynolds. I go by Pixie Lizzie on Facebook, and I'm a magical food allergy travel agent.
Hi, I'm Charity. I'm an agent with Platinum Mouse. I'm also a physician assistant in allergy and immunology, and a mom of 3 children, all with different food allergies.
And I'm Kelly. I am a Disney loving allergist immunologist who's also a travel agent with Platinum Mouse.
Hi, this is Lizzie, and welcome to the Food Allergy Magic podcast. I'm here with my two co hosts, Kelly and Charity, and we have two more exciting guests with us, Angela and Christina, and both of them are agents at Platinum Mouse. And we're going to talk about Epic Universe today. There's not much that's really known about Epic Universe, but it sounds pretty exciting. It's got Mario and some other stuff. Um, so we have two people, and it's very interesting why we chose them. One won this amazing contest. I'll let her tell you about it. And the other has actually been there. And I'm going to introduce them now. Christina, would you like to say hello?
Yeah, hello, I'm Christina. I won a Epic Universe contest with travel agents, and the contest was about, it was called the 100-Day Epic Universe Challenge. So every 10 days for the next 100 days until Epic opens, they did social media challenge where they picked a topic and you had to share about it. So the one that I won, it was Dark Universe. So I won a comic strip hoodie and a hat. So that was pretty cool. And some of the topics that I shared about it was I shared on ride attractions, Monsters Unchained and Curse of the Werewolves. I shared dining experiences, Dax Steakhouse and Burning Blade. I shared some shopping experiences, and they have a cool experience. It's called Darkmoor Monster, where you get to do your makeup and get all done up like a monster. So that was pretty cool. And I shared on 3 different platforms: TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So every platform that you share, you get an extra entry. So it's pretty
Fantastic.
cool.
That's wonderful. I
Yeah.
was really proud of you. I think
Yeah, it was exciting.
teamwork,
I missed the first one, but the other ones I shared on were Celestial Park, and I shared on Super Nintendo World. So, and this last one was Harry Potter 2.0 wands. That
Oh
was
my
the topic.
gosh.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It was
And
pretty
then
fun. I
Angela,
was excited.
introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Angela. I'm a travel agent with Platinum Mouse, as Lizzie said, and I did get to go visit the new park, Epic Universe. My son does work at Universal Studios, and so they had a team member preview. So we did get to go this last weekend and experience all they had to offer. It was absolutely amazing. I was completely impressed. They did a really good job. Just to kind of give an overview, they do have 5 different worlds inside the park. When you walk in, the first area you're going to come into is Celestial Park. My prediction, I think what will be out there is probably going to be their nighttime show. They have a huge water area with fountains and stuff, and it sits right in front of Helios, which is their resort, which would be super convenient if you were going to be looking to go to Epic Universe, because you literally walk out the hotel and you're in the park. So it's very close. And then the other parts of the different worlds, they do have, the next park is Dark Universe, as Christina mentioned. It does have a lot of, it's just kind of a spooky atmosphere. It's got a windmill that's on fire in the back. There's a couple of rides over there. Frankenstein was the one that we were the most interested in, but they didn't have it up and going when we were there. So we did get to walk through the queue, which was really cool. So I can't wait till the ride opens to try that one out. And then they do have a second ride over there. It was Curse of the Mummy, and it's a roller coaster, and it looked pretty scary. I did not get on it. My favorite part, if you want to know my favorite part of the park, was definitely the Super Nintendo world. When you walk in there, if you have ever played Super Mario, I grew up playing it, so kind of a nerd in that respect, but you walk in and everything around you makes you feel like you're in the game. It's got so much just everywhere you look, you can't even possibly notice everything when you walk in. It's just they've got so many details in that section. Everything is moving, everything is interactive. They do have bands you can buy, and the bands do interact in that section of the park. So if you know anything about Super Mario, when Mario jumps up and hits the blocks and the coin pops out and it makes the little sound, the ding sound, those are all through that part of the park. And so the kids can go around and hit their little band on it, and they accumulate different points for all the different things over there. And then there's different interactive games that they can cash their points in and play. That's all part of the landscape of the whole area in that section. And then there's 3 rides over there. They do have our favorite was Mario Kart. That was really, really cool. And then there's a Yoshi ride, which definitely some of the younger kids could ride that one. It's a very slower moving ride. Takes you all the way through the land, which is really cool to get to see. You kind of see it from a different perspective. It does have 2 levels to it. So if we were traveling with someone with a disability, and my mom had to use the elevator to go up and down, but there's elevators throughout the inside to get you up and down if you need that option. Um, when you come into that part of the park, it's like a portal when you go into each world in the inside the park. And in that one particularly, there's a set of escalators that go up as you first walk through the portal. And there is a handicap accessible escalator directly over to the right before the escalator, if anyone is in need of something like that, if you're trying to go there. Once you get back there, you come in on the second floor, but there's a lot of stuff on the bottom on the ground floor. So there's a separate elevator inside that you take back down to go to the inside of the Mario part of the park. And then on the back side of the Super Mario section, there's another portal. And if you walk through that portal, you go into Donkey Kong Land. And so there was another roller coaster back there. Lots of fun, completely submersive, like just stimulation everywhere you look. There's just stuff going on everywhere your eye catches. It's really, really cool. They did a really good job with detail. All 3 of the rides were up and running in that section. So that was nice to be able to enjoy all the rides. And then the other part was the Harry Potter section. And it's really cool. It's themed off of, I think it's 1920s France. And the wands are very interactive over there. They've got all these different displays in the windows. It's kind of set up like, shops. And as you walk through, like, there's just so many, everywhere we were looking, little kids were running around touching things with their wands, and things were moving around and, doing different things. So they do have the butterbeer over there. If that's something that you're interested in. The ride wasn't up and going in that section yet, so we didn't get to try it out. They are going to have another preview, so we're going to go back in a couple weeks and see if there's some more stuff that's open. And then let's see, we're missing How to Train Your Dragon. That section was also really cool theming. They have like a mountain that's kind of sideways, and there's different, just all different kinds of things to look at. I don't want to give too much away, but the rides back there were cool. They had 2 different rides. They were both up and going. They do have tester seats if anybody, has any issues with, wondering if they're, too tall to fit or whatever. And some of the rides over there we noticed do have 2 seats for testers, and one's for a taller or a larger person. And because I know there's sometimes they can't get on the rides, and so they do have usually a row that's more accommodating if you do have somebody that's bigger in stature. And the other part that's all the lands. We went through all 5.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about what you learned about the food allergies?
So we did dine at 2 of the different restaurants when we were there. We went to the pizza restaurant that's in Celestial Park. My son does suffer from 6 different food allergies. He's allergic to egg, soy, peanut, tree nut, shellfish, and fish. They did an excellent job making sure that he was safe while we were there. So the way the protocol works is you walk in, you're going to go ahead and seat yourself at a table. I will say some of the restaurants do have a line outside that you kind of wait in to get into them if they're busy. But you get in the line, and as soon as they have a table ready, you sit down. There's going to be a scan code on the table, a QR code that you scan with your phone, and that's going to bring up the menu. And once you're on the menu, it does tell you typically with Universal what each entree, what it's safe for. But then also there's a button on there when you do select which entree you think you want to order, and you can put in a request for food allergies. And so when they receive that request on your order, they're going to send out the manager or a chef to your table to talk with you one on one and just make sure that what you are ordering is what's safe. When they did take our orders and bring the food back out, they were using, safety protocols. They did have it with a pick, kind of like they use at Disney, and it is marked. And then they went over it again when they brought the food back out as to what allergies that it was free from. We didn't have any issues, and everything went well that day. He didn't have any reactions. We also went to the barbecue place, and they did well as well. Some of the restaurants weren't open yet, just because the park's not up and running fully. But by May they should have everything up and running. But I did feel comfortable taking my own son there, and he did well dining.
Oh, that's fantastic to know. It's the big unknown until someone that's an allergy mom hits the park and then lets everybody know.
It made me nervous. Trust me.
It's the beach. In your case, all the beaches that you get to go to, And then as far as Universal, yeah, the whole overview is very different than Disney, and we'll get into all the food allergies, the protocols, all that stuff once Epic opens and we know more about it. That way we can have a complete, for right now, a complete kind of overview of the food allergies. But it's very different than Disney, where there are Disney owned restaurants and non-Disney owned restaurants, and every Disney owned restaurant, we tell our clients where they are, and there's always a food allergy chef there. Universal is very different in that respect. But anyway, we'll go over all of that. My child's eaten wonderfully at Universal. It's very different, but it's very doable. And anyway, thank you both so much for coming on and talking to us about Epic Universe, because it sounds really exciting, especially for me, the Mario Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter hit the tail end
It
of
was
that.
the best.
She was
I could have stayed in that section all day.
9 or 10. Yeah, fantastic. Yes. Well, thanks, girls. We really appreciate it.
Welcome.
And then Kelly and Charity, you guys have stuff to share that's Disney related, right?
That's right. So I have brief Disney Cruise Line news. So as many of you know, if you're Disney Cruise Line fans, the Disney Destiny is currently under construction at Meyer Werft in Papenburg, Germany. That's where they built the Treasure as well. And she just reached a really exciting milestone in her construction about 2 weeks before we're recording. So sometime in the middle of March, she had her float up. So the building where she's built is a giant warehouse right next to the Ems River, and they open up the doors and let the water flow in. So the ship is now actually floating in water, still in the warehouse where she's being built. And this lets them test the engines and other technical systems while the crew works on the inside of the ship, getting it ready with all the cool theming and everything. As you know, she's a sister ship of the Treasure. So it'll be the same layout as the Wish and the Treasure, but with different themed spaces. And we're all excited to see what she has in store.
Fantastic.
And I think Charity has some allergy news.
I do have some allergy news. There's some really exciting things that have come out over this last month that were announced at one of the college meetings regarding a new form of epinephrine that we're hopeful will be available early next year. So as people in the allergy community might be aware, this last year, a needle-free form of epinephrine became available, which was the Neffy, which is the nasal spray. And we talked about this briefly earlier in one of our podcasts, but the sublingual form of epinephrine, they're going to call it Anafilm, but it's a sublingual strip. So this is the package that it will come in. If for those that are watching on YouTube, it's just a tiny little foil package. And if you open it up, I'm going to show here, it's almost like a tiny little Listerine strip. It's really tiny and it'll just go under the tongue, but this is the full dose of epinephrine. This is an adult dose. This is just a demonstrator, but these tiny little foil packs, you'd be able to fit 1 or 2 even in your phone case. They're hopeful these will be available early next year, but some of the tests that they've been doing on it, they just revealed the results of those tests over this last month. And the exciting part is they were testing some different things, like how temperature stable they would be, how the blood level concentrations would be, like how quickly it'll be absorbed in the blood, some different things that they're going to have to submit to the FDA for approval. And they are all coming back so strong and so robust. Like, for instance, they tested the temperature that these could be at 158 degrees, which would be simulating being left in a car. So as people that have to carry epinephrine know, if you leave them in a hot car, it breaks them down. And then a lot of time, then you should replace them if they're left in a hot car. So they tested these strips being left at 158 degrees, which would simulate being in a hot car. And after 1 week, they were shown to still be 97% effective or potent. And after 1 year, I believe it was 92% effective. And so that just showed how stable these were. They also did things like they put them in washing machines. They crumpled them up like as if they were in a wallet. They did all kinds of tests like that, and it just showed how great the packaging was, how temperature stable it was. So just simulating real life use of this strip. They even opened the package and left it out, for 12 hours. The little film itself was still stable. So that was really great. And then the other thing is they wanted to know how quick that would be absorbed in the body. And it showed that the peak concentration that it could be absorbed in the body was 12 minutes. And when they compare that to the EpiPens and the AviQs, those all take about 20 to 30 minutes to actually reach peak concentration in the blood levels. And so these are actually faster when you look at those tests. So it's all coming back very favorable that hopefully these will be approved and on the market. We're very, very hopeful. So as someone whose family members all have to carry epinephrine, I'm very, very excited about this. So that's our allergy news. I don't know about you all, but I'm very excited about these.
Well, I'm over here crying.
Charity for people
It's a
who
struggle. It's such a struggle. And like when you first introduced me to it at the fair conference,
Yeah.
I just cried because I think of all the boys whose lives will be saved that won't carry EpiPens because they don't have purses.
Yeah, I think it's so important because it makes it so easy to carry, and not carrying epinephrine, delay in epinephrine increases the risk for bad outcomes with anaphylaxis. So I'm so happy that it makes it easy to carry. For people not watching and for people who don't know what sublingual means, Charity, can you explain that?
Thank you, Kelly. Yes, sublingual just means under the tongue. So this is something that will just go under the tongue and dissolve. You don't need water. You don't have to swallow it. Someone could place it under the tongue. So that's what sublingual means. So thank you for pointing that out. So that's what this little film will do. It'll just go under the tongue. So,
it's just such a beautiful thing.
It is
really
That's
beautiful.
amazing.
I couldn't have never even imagined it, ever.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And I love that you even put it in the washer machine and it still worked. Because in the real world, that's going to happen in the kids' pockets. It's going to go through the wash, and now it doesn't ruin it. That's amazing.
Yep, we've had things go through the washing machine. I don't know about anyone else. So
Yeah, lots of stuff. I can't wait to see what the price point is, because if it's not anything like what the other options are, you could just have that stuff like all over.
yeah.
Like seriously,
Yeah, I haven't heard anything, but I'm hopeful. I mean, if you think about it, there's so much less it appears, involved as far as, not a device or mechanism or that type of thing. So I hope it'll be comparable or less, so.
Now, talking on that point about epinephrine, and I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I don't know if any of you guys saw the movie Novocaine. It's a movie out, and I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but it's this guy who can't feel pain. And so his mom sheltered him, and he's never eaten solid food, and he eats it for the first time as a piece of pie with this girl that he ultimately has feelings for. Anyway, over a piece of pie, right? It gets on into it. But what's kind of odd about it is that he uses an EpiPen, I think 2 or 3 times in the movie, to come back from almost dying because he can't feel pain. And he's going through all this violent stuff, and it's supposed to be like a comedy. And then I thought, oh my God, what are kids going to take those EpiPens now and try to use them as a device that will give them a feeling of jolt of energy, So be on the lookout for that because I bet it's going to hit all the allergy pages.
Well, misrepresentation of like the use of epinephrine and albuterol in the media is rampant. Like they'll show people waiting till someone can't breathe, injecting it in their heart. For asthma inhalers, it's always like a nerdy person who's nervous to ask a girl out on a date, and then he uses his inhaler, not like it's an actual medical problem with your lungs. So it's very interesting how medical devices can, especially allergy related medical devices, are portrayed in the media, and it's so inaccurate.
You're so true. I never even thought about that. About the boy that's real nervous to talk to the girl and just doing the whole albuterol thing.
Yeah, yeah, they always do that. And then we
Oh
can
my
take
gosh.
clips.
Fantastic.
But it is always the nerdy
Wow.
guy.
I know.
My asthma patients aren't nerds, right? I don't like it like that portrayal. That's why we're here, and Charity's bringing good information about medical devices and their proper use.
And
We're
going
trying.
back,
We're trying to educate.
going back to Epic, I have a question for both of you guys, especially you, Angela, because you've been there. How long is it going to take to get through that park? You've seen the rides. You're a pro at parks and visiting them and kind of calculating. Is it a 2-day park? Is it a 3-day park? If you wanted to ride the rides and see all the things.
I think you could probably write everything probably in one day. But if you really wanted to really just, get into the lands, and do some of some of the things they've got, like the horror makeup show, that looks really cool. I did go in there and look around at the studio where they do that. They've also got a lot of shows over there. There's a How to Train Your Dragon show. There was a horror makeup show. We went to that one. It was really cool. The dragon one was down when we went over there. There's a lot of characters. There was meet and greets with Mario and Luigi, some of the monsters. We saw the Invisible Man. We saw just lots of people kind of roaming around. There was entertainment over in the Celestial Park where they had, music playing, live entertainment. There's the carousel down there. Like I said, I feel like they're going to have some stuff going on around that water area in front of Helios. So, you could probably get through it in a day, but if you really wanted to be, seeing and doing everything, it'd probably take a couple days maybe, but you could definitely knock it out in one day. You might not be able to spend quite as much time in every area as you wanted. I could have spent several hours over in Mario just by itself. So that area was really cool and interactive.
Got it. Charity, you've done Universal with your 3 children and your husband who have food allergies. And
Yes.
how long did it, because you've got kids that like the Marvel stuff too that used to be over there, like Spider-Man and all that kind of, they like those rides, right? How long did it take, in Harry Potter, how long did it take your family to get through the 2 original parts?
So you had helped us book that a couple of years ago. Thank you, Lizzie. We were planning on spending 3 days, but because of a promotion that was going on, we actually ended up having 5 days. And it was over the holidays, so we were able to spread that out. But I feel like the Universal Studios and Island of Adventure, definitely a full day at each park. 3 days was ideal. 5 days was amazing. They we really got to spread it out then and just do partial days and have a lot of fun and go back and revisit rides. I don't feel like we needed that long, but definitely a full day at each park.
Yeah,
But
I don't like those big rides at all.
Yeah, no, we love the attractions.
I know you did.
And we took time to spend time at the resort and had downtime too, but that was really nice.
What resort did you stay at when you went?
We stayed at Lowe's Royal Pacific, which was amazing for walking back and forth to the park. I loved it. It had its own entrance, its own security entrance. It was extremely convenient. You could take the boat or just walk over. Yeah, so that made it really nice.
Have you ever noticed that butterfly garden? Have you ever noticed that on the way down to the boat?
The butterfly garden?
It's amazing.
We didn't notice that,
I'm
no.
a bird watcher, so I kind of notice that kind of stuff. Other people
Yeah.
are like running past it to get on the boats, you know.
Yeah, we walked that a lot, but that was a great location for us.
And it includes Express Pass. And I
Yeah,
think
so that was, a game changer for that trip too, because that location did include the, unlimited express pass, and for those that aren't familiar with that, it includes that pass from the day of check-in till check-out, so that I think that's what made the trip so leisurely, like leisurely to enjoy, and we were just on our own time. Whenever we wanted to walk on any ride, we did, and we left, and that was incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's also interesting how if you price out staying like at Cabana Bay, getting your tickets and then adding the express passes onto it, it comes out more expensive than if you stay at one of the premier resorts.
Yeah, and we had a family of 5, and that was over the holidays, and somehow the way we timed it, we got an incredible deal on the room too. I mean, it was phenomenal, and then the package that we had where we got 2 free days of park tickets and we're able to extend our stay,
Yeah.
it
You
was
had
a
a great traveler.
vacation. We had a great travel agent.
Chloe, have you been there
yeah,
as
those
well?
5 Express Passes would be a lot more money than the room,
Oh,
even the room
yeah.
at the Premier Resort. Like, so that's the best deal, especially for big families.
Chloe,
Yeah.
have you stayed there?
I've stayed there twice, and then we stayed at that Portofino Yacht Club once.
No.
That's really lovely, that one, but the Portofino, but it's, farther away than Royal Pacific, so I like the location of Royal Pacific best.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's time for us to say goodbye. And thanks so much for joining us, Christina and Angela.
Alrighty, we want to thank you all for joining us today on our podcast. We had a great time talking about Universal and Epic Universe. And if you want to reach us, you can reach me at charity@platinummouse.com. And Lizzie, how can we reach you?
Lizzie at pixielizzie.com or Lizzie at platinummouse.com.
And Christina?
Mine's Christina.Cantoric@platinummouse.com.
And Angela, how can we reach you?
I'm Angela at platinummouse.com.
And Kelly, how can we reach you? And can you close us out?
I'm Kelly at platinummouse.com. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you soon.
We'll see you real soon.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Thanks. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And please join the Disney Food Allergy Magic group on Facebook.
This podcast is not intended to provide any individual medical advice to our listeners. We do hope that our conversations provide evidence-based information and help you prepare for allergy-safe travel. Any questions pertaining to one's own health should always be discussed with their personal physician.